Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Bhalava Giri Bharadhari Jaya Gopi Jana Bhalava Giri Bharadhari Jashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Ashtotara Shatashi Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shishiguru and Shigoranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, the Summon Bonum, Chapter 63, Lord Krishna fights with Banasura, text 52 and 53. Swarajadanin samalankritan dvajai Satoranair ukshitamarga chatvaram Vivesha shankana kadundubi swanair Abhyudyatha paurasuhit dvijatibhi Swarajadhanin samalankritam dvajai Satoranair ukshitamarga chatvaram Vivesha shankana kadundubhi swanair. Abhyudyata paurasruhit dvijatibhi Swarajadhanim samalankritam dvajai Satoranair ukshitamarga chatvaram Vivesha Shankanakadundu Vishwanair Abhyudyatha Paurasruhit Dvijatibhi. Please chant. Samalankritam Dvajai Satoranair Ukshitamarga Chatvaram Vivesha Shankanakadundu Vishwanair Abhyudata Paurashuhit Dvijatibhi Swa, his own, Rajadhanim, capital, Samalankritam, fully decorated, Dvajai, with flags, Sa, and with Toranai, victory arches, Ukshita, sprinkled with water, Marga, whose avenues, Chatwaram, and crossroads, Vivesha, he entered, Shanka, of conch shells, Anaka, side drums, Dundubhi, and kettle drums, Sonai, with a resounding Abhyudyatha, greeted respectfully, Paura, by the people of the city, Suhrit, by his relative, Dvijatibhi, and by the Brahmanas. Translation by the disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Lord that entered his capital, the city, was lavishly decorated with flags and victory arches, and its avenues and crossways were all sprinkled with water, as conch shells, anakas, and dundubi drums resounded. The Lord's relative, the Brahmanas, and the general populace all came forward to greet him respectfully. Text 53. Jaivam Krishna Bijajam Sankarena cha samyugam sankarena cha samyugam sansmaret pratar uthaya natasya syat para jaya. Translation: whoever rises early in the morning and remembers Lord Krishna's victory in his battle with Lord Shiva will never experience defeat. Thus end the purpose of the humble servants of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada to the 10th canto, 63rd chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled Lord Krishna Fights with Bana Asura. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Ummilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Prabhupada Swami Vidinamine. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhya evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. This is the conclusion of this amazing pastime. Well, all Krishna's pastimes are quite amazing. Um, and in itself, each pastime is a complete uh, chapter of excitement and um, teachings that is very, very profound and very wonderful, very relishable. And specifically, this chapter have so many wonderful lessons, and we see how the arc of that Banasura follows for taking birth in a great, great family, the descendants of Prahlad Maharaj, one of the 12 recognized universal authorities on dharma, on religious. Being born on that family and going through the different arches of bad association. So Banasura, due to bad association, he develops, although, although with the advantages of being in such a amazing family. Actually, his grandfather is one of the 12 Mahajans. His father was one of the 12 Mahajans. And his guru is one of the 12 Mahajans. So it's quite something, no? That he has all this facility. It's not by chance that one take birth in a family of devotees, Krishna explains. It's actually because of living a life of devotion and somehow they're not being able to perfect that life of devotion, one take birth in a family of brahmanas or in a family of devotees. So it's not by chance, it's the um, is by someone who shows, that is of this quality of sukritina, highly pious. So there is Banasura. Even though with all those facilities, you take bad association and you develop certain demoniac qualities. And specifically, um, these qualities of um, pride, foremost, pride, deceit, um, arrogance, um, violence. These qualities specifically are described by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita when he describes, those of demoniac tendencies. So by association, these qualities come forward. Qualities, bad qualities, demoniac qualities. So we see Banasura, and you see the situation that he has. He has this combination of devotional and demoniac. They're somehow present there. And you see through the arch of his actions. Devotional was shown because he actually, by his service, and to although Lord Shiva is described as Ashutosh, is very, very easily to please. But we hear of demons doing all kinds of crazy sacrifices to please Lord Krishna. It comes to mind the guy who was, cutting his flesh and offering to the fire, and then because Lord Shiva didn't appear, he was ready to cut his head and throw it in the fire. And then Shiva, okay, I'm pleased with you. So what you want, and giving the blessings of and the crazy blessing that this guy asked was, that whoever he puts his hand on is going to explode his head, you know. So, so Banasura was not of that quality. Banasura actually was not doing something necessarily to um, uh, there was devotion in there. Although, I, there's no explanation, so we cannot speculate, what's Banasura's mind. But the fact is that he performed something that is part of a very intimate, you know, um, purpose or service of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva performed these dances, for a specific reason. And um, and Banasura not pleased Lord Krishna by his service. It was something that he um, devoted himself and do it in such a way that it was very pleasing to Lord Shiva. So it was a service. It was in a service mood, and he was accepted like that. And Lord Shiva, um, and you can see the reciprocation because Lord Shiva has given him the blessings of 1,000 arms, and now he is able to perform that service for Lord Shiva. Even he used 1,000 arms to play so many instruments and drums and things like that with all the 1,000 arms. So it was like a one-man orchestra for Lord Shiva. So there was this devotion, and the fact that he was favored by Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva actually have affection towards him, and that shows at the end of this pastime how that arch happens. So there's that devotional power, but then there's this demoniac power that is there. So then what happens with Srila Rupa Goswami explains the benefits, the opulence that naturally come with devotional service. There are so many blessings that comes with devotional service. and um, and the devotee then runs the danger, if one is not very careful with the benefits of devotional service, that one becomes proud, and then um, it starts to try to pursue or enjoy certain position of superiority that comes with the recognition of devotional service. So this is something that you can see. Banasura with 1,000 arms, the qualities, the demoniac qualities, became most prominent, and he naturally, this pride leads him to Guru Aparat, to um, offend your spiritual master. You become blinded by pride and not able to see that whatever you have or you have received, the opulence that you have by your devotional service, are bestowed to you by your spiritual master. You become, by pride, will become blinded to that. And then Guru Aparat. And that's the beginning of you fall down. And then naturally with Guru Aparat, then you have absolutely no capacity to recognize the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, however, the beautiful part, I mean, I mentioned this before because this is something that touches me a lot, the mercy that Lord Shiva bestowed on Banasura. That first of all, you know, Lord Shiva uh, chastises Banasura and basically makes the arrangement for Banasura to be that all the sources of his pride being taken away. So, in the same way that um, Lord Shiva gave Banasura all those blessings, of those 1,000 arms, now those arms became the cause um, of Banasura's pride, and now Lord Shiva is, you, the Supreme Lord, will actually take away those from you. And we remember the story of the mouse and the sage. Yeah, we all know that story. What was there's a Sanskrit, Mushtika something, become mouse again, right? Huh? Yes, Pura Mushika Bhava. Yeah, become a mouse again. So, the mouse comes, the cat is following, make me a cat, become a cat. Now the dog is following me, like that, make me a tiger. So now no dog, no cat, no this, no that will actually disturb me because the tiger is the most powerful one. And now that I'm a tiger and I received that blessing by the sage, the nature of the tiger is, well, no one can defeat me, I'm most powerful. And then I see that sage, and then, oh, that looks like a very tasty, meal. And then the sage understand and say, become a mouse again. So, this is something that Lord Shiva arranges for Banasura, become a mouse again. Now, one can see it as a punishment, but it's not a punishment. And at that end, it shows the end result which was the desired result. The spiritual master purpose is to actually take the disciple to the lotus feet of Krishna and have the disciple fully surrender to Krishna. So it's the conversion from being a conditioned soul into a pure devotee of the Lord. That's what the spiritual master will do for you. So then that's the end of this pastime. That's the full arch goes like that. By the desire of Lord Shiva to save his disciple from this pride, then Banasura becomes a perfected devotee and he fully surrenders to Krishna. So it's a beautiful, it's just, and then, you know, this principle that takes place in this pastime is presented within this amazing, sort of a dramatic arrangement in which, there's these battles. So, so the conclusion is now Banasura fully surrenders to Krishna. He actually offers obeisances. The moment he's playing, the acharyas is playing, the moment he offered obeisances to Krishna, he became perfected, perfect devotee, you know. And naturally, now he makes the arrangement to glorify Krishna and Krishna's devotees. He brings Aniruddha and and his daughter and places him in his chariot and brings him to Krishna with full ornaments. And then now the procession back to Dwarka. And now we're reading about Krishna entering Dwarka. So here's the comments of the Vaishnavacharyas on this last. Srila Jiva Goswami comments, text number 53. Whoever remembers Krishna's victory over Vana on his battle with Shiva will not experience defeat. Krishna defeat of Vana and defeating Shiva by making him yawning should not be surprising, since just by remembering those incidents, a person cannot be defeated by anyone. Whoever remembers with faith Smaret, Krishna's defeat of Vana and Shiva fighting with Krishna in order to give benefit to Vana, will not be defeated. What to speak of hearing and glorifying the events? Simply getting up in the morning without bathing, one can remember this incident. The person will not be defeated by internal or external obstacles to bhakti. So, nice, no? So we can do that. Actually, this is one of the beautiful thing of the great opulence of living in the temple, of being, to hear the Bhagavatam, um, in a daily basis. I give credit to my wife because even, when she's not here, we'll be traveling or something, she still dials, the YouTube channel and, religiously listen to the class, every class. And then so this meditation of these pastimes that we hear sometimes is so present that the time that we were in the Parliament of the World Religion, then you have all kinds of people that come. My wife narrates of some guy that came that wanted, he's writing something about battles, like that. And she says, Oh, this that we're reading right now in Srimad Bhagavatam, this battle. If you want to know about battles, so here is. Read about these battles between Lord Krishna, Banasura, and Lord Shiva. And, the man sort of dismissed it, but this ever present sort of thinking about these wonderful activities. I think I find I found this narration of Banasura very inspiring, especially because of that Banasura being going through that whole arch, and in one sense, uh, uh, I think it's very relevant for us devotees, and to meditate on. And if we're able to capture what the blessing that is presented by Srila Sukadev Goswami, if we're able to capture that essence and remember it, because it's not just the this weapon, that weapon, and then the yawning weapon. That's that's how the excitement of the whole. That's how it becomes packaged. But the essence of this pastime is just very wonderful, and um, and take it in and absorb it, process it very well. Um, the relationships that is there, the wonderful relationships that is there when we establish the connection with the spiritual master, and also how Krishna obliges the spiritual master. If somehow or other we can please the spiritual master, if somehow or other, regardless of how conditioned we may be, if we can please the spiritual master. So this is the part that I like to meditate, uh, remembering this pastime. If somehow or other, I mean, Banasura had all these qualities, demoniac qualities that were there. But if somehow or other we can please the spiritual master, then we really, at the end, we uh, we will be safe. We will be purified, fully purified from all these conditions by the mercy of the spiritual master. Therefore, we pray. We pray to Srila Prabhupada every morning that um, that the spiritual master is the only way by which we can obtain the mercy of Krishna. Bow down to his lotus feet with awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to become purified by constantly listening to the words emanating from his lotus mouth. The attachment to his lotus feet is a perfection that fulfills all desires. So the prayers are very beautiful. Huh? The Guru Vandana is very beautiful to meditate on that, because that's the essence. And we see this how actually even when Banasura does really this very disturbing, nasty behavior towards Lord Shiva and towards Lord Krishna, towards Lord Krishna's devotees, even just because he have pleased Lord Shiva, he will be safe. So it's quite something, quite telling. So then somehow other, we 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 must uh, find the means to actually serve our spiritual master, and please him. Jasya prasadam bhagavad prasadam jasya aprasadam nagati kutam. So that's what I like to remember, and if we do that in a regular basis, then the internal and external obstacles to bhakti will be defeated. So the meditation, there's this famous purport by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur on the Vyavasayatmika Buddhi um, verse, um, that he says that his only meditation, this Vyavasayatmika for Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, his single pointed intelligence is to please his spiritual master. The mission of my spiritual master is his only meditation, is his whole existence, and is single pointed. The instruction of the spiritual master, like that. And then it is in Prabhupada's Lilamrita, it is explained that Prabhupada, while reading this purport in Vrindavan, it became now was the moment that he's coming to America. It is explained that this particular purport was the um, the instruction that propelled Srila Prabhupada to now is the time to fulfill the order of his spiritual master to preach to the English world. So so this is a meditation that whatever condition we have, whatever difficulties we have, whatever propensity, if I'm have this difficulty with with pride or with anger or with loss or with procrastination, with whatever we have, whatever quality that is there that is conditioned and is a huge obstacle internally and externally for my devotional service, if somehow I can please my spiritual master, then I will be free. Krishna will take it away. Krishna will cut it like he's cutting, Banasura's arm. Each one of these anarthas, Krishna will destroy. Nashtra praeshu bhadreshu. All the things. So, therefore, Krishna recommends, what is it? Nashtra praeshu. No. Tasmai sarveshu kaleshu. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu. I can't remember the Sanskrit. But therefore, always think of me, Krishna say, and at the same time perform your duties. 8th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, always think of me and at the same time perform your duties. Because by that type of meditation, then one will obtain him without a doubt. Krishna say, he who meditates on me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me, undeviated from the path, he, O Partha, is sure to reach me. So that's the process that we're practicing. And so, why not taking as one as sadhana, remembering now, taking these blessings and remember these wonderful pastimes of Krishna defeating Banasura and fighting with Lord Shiva, and meditating on these whole principles. There's something that I just wanted to, because it's always interested me, the power of um, music. So there is this uh, often quoted um, sounds, drums, the anakadundubi, anakadundubi, shanka anakadundubi. So the sounds of these drums, the anaka and the dundubi drums, and conch shells and trumpets, so all these sounds that in general we hear when there is a procession like that. Um, Traditionally, these are the dundubi drums are called the war drums, are military drums, and in general, traditionally they use for when you go to war or when there's victory and you receive the victors, you know and there's also use during marriage processions, something great like that. So these anaka and dundubis are they're described here as kettle drums. So you know what the kettle drum is. You know the kettle drum. You've seen orchestras with those big timpani drums. The timpani is boom, 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 drrrr, boom, like that. So they're huge drums. They're like about this size. Well, they have different size, and they're very deep and very loud. Usually in orchestras, you use those are the drums that you use. So the Dumdubi drums are considered kettle drums or described as kettle drums. They are the original kettle drums. They are actually these are drums that are heavenly drums and super loud and deep and profound. And also when you have different sizes and these anakas, so the combination of them, they create this. It's almost you sing a marching band. Like that, it creates that type of sounds. Marching bands are usually what accompanies, the marching troops. In general, these are military sort of, and then they have been adopted by schools to create a sense of, a whole group. In general, you have um, the troops, and they have to march, and they have to be all disciplined and coordinated, and then have to work as a team. So you have, different drums. You have the big side drums, bass, and then you have the crashes, and you have the the snares, and you have trumpets, and they all combine. The other day we were driving, and then all of a sudden I hear, this sound. We were passing by a school, and I hear this sound of this band, huge sound, and I just have to stop at my tracks. I just stop the car and just time to listen, and then look for it, and then there were a marching band rehearsing in some near field. It's very powerful. Um, I look for the sound of a dundubi drum. Now, right, you still can find it in India. There's certain areas that use it a lot, um, especially Sikhs. They use this drum. They call it the Nagara drum. Same, a big kettle drum, and they use in temples and also in Rajasthan. Rajasthan, because the Rajput, the famous Kshatriyas, both Sikhs and And the Rajasthani people, they have this military background. So warriors, kshatriyas. So this is one of the drums that is used regularly, and you find it there in the temples too. They have it. So here's an example of how these drums, big drum, is played in a temple. This is by some Sikh temple. So you get an idea. It's like, and then you have imagine hundreds of them. The sound is tumultuous. And sometimes you hear also different versions of these war drums. Especially you have the Japanese, they use that, big wooden drums, and then, they beat them like, powerfully. So something that I always is always an interest for me, when it comes to music and all these things, important things. It's part of the um, celebrations, or glorifying the personality of Godhead. These were used in terms, of glorifying. So as Krishna enters the city, so there is this Anakadundubi drums, being resounding. Any comments or questions? Krishnarji?
Um, You've drawn our attention to the pastime highlighting the necessity to please the spiritual master.
I think you need a little volume on that. I think it's number 2.
So you were highlighting this necessity to please the spiritual master that was kind of elucidated through the pastime. So I found it very interesting. I was just reflecting when you were narrating that, Lord Shiva had made the statement to Vanasura that he would be basically losing his arms because that was the source of his pride. And so before his pride to be destroyed, then the source of that pride had to be destroyed. So hence the arms would be cut by the chakra of Lord Krishna. So I was thinking, so there was Lord Shiva, who's spiritual master of Vanasura. So he's pleased with Vanasura and then he's displeased with Vanasura. But even in his displeasure, the arrangement is such that he's actually benefiting Vanasura because the point you made was just to destroy his pride, which then allowed him to surrender to Lord Krishna. So I was just thinking on this point that displeasure for the spiritual masters, at least in the case of Lord Shiva, took the form of actually still benefiting the disciple. So I was just thinking of that point.
Yeah, it's quite something, because he also will he also depends on the disciple to actually being able at one point to complete the arch. When when by the arrangements of the spiritual master you become, become a mouse again, and then other, your pride becomes exposed. But then is what do you do? So in this case, Banasura surrendered to Krishna. But the question will be: would he have been able to surrender to Krishna without um, Lord Shiva showing his mercy? Because he was in the position that externally appears that he was, now all most of his arm, the majority of his arm has been cut, and then so the next thing that was coming is that he was going to lose his head, so he was going to be killed. But then Lord Shiva comes, and you can imagine the situation, that you have to actually, the very same person that you deride, the person who gave you everything, and then that you deride out of blinded pride, and you insult, that very same person came to save you. So it shows something that is that you become reawakened to actually who is your benefactor, who is the persons, who who is that most, you know supreme well wisher. And then when you're able to now, it's like, oh, that's when the cloud goes, when we see that my spiritual master is my greatest well wisher, and the relationship that is there is something that is unconditional, that have no conditions, that is therefore, um, um, we describe, as that is a notion of mercy, that it have no is not depending on how good I am of a disciple. It's just, regardless. I'm a disciple that is not doing very well, or a disciple that does well. The spiritual master still present his mercy. And then when we're able to recognize that, then your heart is changed. Then when because at the end the whole arch is about surrender. It's about fully giving oneself to Krishna's representative, which means giving oneself to Krishna. So it's the whole thing is just taking us to the process of saranagati, and that when we able to recognize that, phew, that mercy is the only thing that is for sure in, my life in this world. The mercy of my spiritual master is something that is, you know, the thing that is surely there. So when we're able to recognize that, then the path, or in other words, the attachment becomes now the path that is going to take you to the mercy of Krishna. So, yeah, uh, particularly I find it inspiring in one sense, I mean, that connection. So it's quite amazing what Lord Shiva did and expressed in front of Banasura, telling, pleading to Krishna, and the words that he used, this is my dear and sincere. He uses these two words, dear and sincere. This is a guy who just spit on Lord Shiva, you know, and he's calling it, he's still, in other words, he's still dear to me. and I still consider, a sincere follower. You know, for Banasura to be able to hear that, and now, Lord Shiva went on to to say um, how what how you become blinded to that for him to hear that. Now Banasura is able to hear the instructions, and it worked. Now he was able to really take those instructions to heart. So what Lord Shiva did is that he explains, that how how one gets into that hole by these demoniac, propensities, and what is this? What is the what is the what is what's gonna free you is the lotus feet of the Lord. So he listened and then he acted. He surrendered to the lotus feet of the Lord. So I find it quite fantastic to think about that like that. Anything else? Vivo, bro. Grantra Shiman Bhagavatam ki jai.